Welcome back to the channel, and before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our breaking news updates. ICE agents moving through neighborhoods, conducting raids, their faces hidden behind black ski masks. Families watch in fear, unsure if those men storming doors are legitimate officers or dangerous impersonators. This image has become increasingly common across immigrant communities, and it has triggered outrage. Now California has stepped into the fire with a controversial new law that bans ICE and most other law enforcement officers from covering their faces in public operations. And the backlash has been nothing short of explosive. On September 20th, Governor Gavin Newsom signed Senate Bill 627 into law, a measure nicknamed the No Secret Police Act. The bill prohibits most officers from wearing masks or facial coverings that conceal their identities during enforcement actions. For many, this was a direct response to highly publicized ICE raids in Los Angeles earlier this year, where agents stormed buildings fully masked. Critics accused ICE of using those masks not for safety, but as tools of intimidation, to instill fear in immigrant families and prevent accountability. The new law seeks to change that dynamic by demanding visibility and transparency. But like every bold move, it has come with fierce opposition. ICE and the Department of Homeland Security quickly raised alarms. Agents say the masks protect them from retaliation, stalking, and doxing. In an age where personal information can be leaked online with one click, they argue that their families could be placed at risk if their faces are easily recognizable. For ICE, masks are not about terrorizing communities, they're about survival. Supporters of the ban don't buy that. They point out that most law enforcement officers across the country operate without ski masks every day, yet ICE uniquely insists on hiding. Civil rights groups argue that this has little to do with security and everything to do with shielding questionable tactics from public scrutiny. Without masks, officers can be held accountable if they use excessive force, conduct unlawful raids, or target the wrong homes. For immigrant families already traumatized by enforcement actions, seeing masked men breaking down doors only magnifies their fear and distrust. This tug of war isn't just symbolic, it's constitutional. Can a state government restrict what federal agents do? California believes yes, citing its authority to protect residents and demand transparency. But federal officials are preparing for a fight, arguing that state laws cannot interfere with federal operations under the Supremacy Clause. Legal experts predict this will soon be tested in court, perhaps escalating all the way to the Supreme Court. If federal courts block California's mask ban, the law could become more of a political statement than a practical policy. But if upheld, it could permanently reshape the rules of engagement for immigration enforcement, not just in California but potentially nationwide. The politics behind this are as sharp as the legal stakes. For Gavin Newsom and California Democrats, the move is a chance to showcase themselves as protectors of immigrant rights, standing up against what they see as Trump-era heavy-handed tactics that dehumanize communities. For Republicans, however, the ban is nothing short of sabotage. They argue that California is handcuffing federal agents, prioritizing the comfort of undocumented immigrants over the safety of American citizens and the effectiveness of law enforcement. Trump himself has already weighed in, blasting the law as reckless and predicting that it will cripple ICE's ability to do its job. Beyond politics, the human consequences are real. For families in immigrant neighborhoods, the sight of masked ICE agents often sparks terror. Some residents have even mistaken raids for robberies or criminal attacks, unsure who was storming their homes. Advocates argue that banning masks will reduce that fear and allow people to distinguish real officers from criminals posing as ICE agents. On the flip side, opponents worry about exposing agents to revenge attacks. If an ICE officer's face is broadcast during a heated raid, that video could circulate online in minutes, making them a target for gangs, cartels, or angry activists. The balance between public trust and officer safety has never been more fragile. And this is not just California's battle. Blue states across the country are watching closely. New Jersey, New York, Illinois, and Massachusetts have all seen heated debates about ICE raids, sanctuary policies, and law enforcement transparency. California may be the first to pass such a sweeping ban, but it may not be the last. Already, a federal bill called the Visible Act, introduced by Democratic Senators Alex Padilla and Cory Booker, seeks to ban non-medical face coverings for ICE agents nationwide, requiring clear visible identification. That proposal has little chance of passing a Republican-controlled House, but it signals where the political winds are blowing. Now the big question is what happens when this law takes effect in January. Will ICE comply, or will they defy the state, citing federal supremacy, and continue operations as usual? If ICE agents refuse to remove masks, California officials could try to penalize them, sparking an unprecedented showdown between state law enforcement and federal agents. Some predict this could ignite protests, lawsuits, and even physical standoffs. Imagine state officers trying to enforce the ban against federal agents who refuse. It's a recipe for political theater at best, chaos at worst. There are also practical questions. The law makes exceptions for undercover work, tactical operations, and medical safety. But where do you draw the line? What counts as tactical? If ICE says every raid is dangerous enough to warrant masks, will California argue back? That gray zone could lead to endless disputes, further eroding trust between local and federal authorities. Supporters of the law see it as a step toward accountability, a way to strip away the secrecy that has long shielded ICE. They say when officers' faces are visible, misconduct can be documented, complaints can be investigated, and trust can slowly be rebuilt. Opponents see something darker. They say California is trying to weaken federal enforcement, essentially giving cover to undocumented immigrants while putting officers' lives on the line. Both sides paint vivid, emotional pictures of what the future holds, and the truth likely lies somewhere in between. The suspense now lies in how this battle unfolds. The first post-ban ICE raid will be a defining moment. Cameras will roll, activists will watch, lawyers will take notes, and politicians will pounce. If agents comply and operate unmasked, immigrant advocates will celebrate a historic victory. If they refuse, defy the law, and go masked anyway, the conflict could escalate into courtrooms and streets. Either way, the stakes are massive. This fight is not really about masks. It's about power, about fear, about who gets to control the narrative of immigration enforcement in America. For immigrant communities, masks symbolize intimidation and dehumanization. For ICE agents, masks symbolize protection and survival. For California politicians, banning them symbolizes resistance against a federal government they see as abusive. And for Washington, this is yet another flashpoint in a long war over borders, identity, and law. So will the mask ban bring peace of mind to communities long terrorized by raids, or will it trigger a backlash that makes things worse? Will it be remembered as a landmark moment of transparency, or as a reckless gamble that endangered officers and deepened divisions? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The next chapter in America's immigration battle has just begun, and it's already shaping up to be one of the most dramatic yet. If you found this analysis helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth breakdowns of the stories shaking our world. And let us know in the comments, should ICE agents be forced to show their faces, or do they need masks for their own protection?